Lyra was my writer, and an athlete too. She was very bright, very capable. She loved to play soccer, kind of push herself that way. She wrote poetry, was very intuitive about people, not always about herself, but often about other people.
She was a ton of fun. Yeah. Smart. Smart, witty. She'd get to ride a snowmobile. Yeah. I think we realized that she was having challenges around 7th grade, and so we consulted with local caregivers, therapists, but it really is a mystery. And then things just sort of progressed from year to year in their seriousness.
One of the most helpless feelings in the world as a parent is to have a child that's struggling, a child that is exhibiting behavior that you feel could be harmful to themselves or others, and to have literally nowhere to turn.
There is no acute inpatient facility in the interior. There are 3 facilities in Anchorage, and so it's a challenge, and it's not uncommon for families to have to come in and wait in the ER for more than 24 hours to get to a facility in Anchorage. And if you're a parent, you don't want to have your child 300 miles away while they're in the hospital. Most families, fantasize about spending the night in their room and being there to take care of them, let alone shipping them off to a locked psychiatric facility where they're not going to have contact with them. She
Did have kind of an initial sort of attempt, suicide attempt. Took her in. We were looking at maybe a placement at Calling Discovery Center in Anchorage, and that therapist said, "Oh, I can read her tell. She's not going to do anything." That night, I just happened to wake up. The dog woke me up and found her in the closet. So. We got on a plane to Anchorage, cuts and all, went to the Providence ER, found a bed for her, and then encountered another struggle, which was, what do we do now? After her second attempt, I had Googled a place, had just kind of happened upon it. Googled best bipolar residential treatment center, and luckily that place had a bed for her. And so she ended up at that point at a residential treatment center in Utah.
Just like you want to have your cancer treated in Fairbanks, you want to have your mental health issues treated here in Fairbanks. And if you're a family, you want to be treated together as a family. And we should be afforded those same opportunities. Again, we'll never be a big city, and we don't want to be a big city, but we should have the basic medical care available to all members of our community.
We see students who really have significant mental health issues, and sometimes I'm just amazed that they're able to stay in school. So a lot of these students are able to just kind of power through really severe mental health disorders. There's about 4,000 students that are eligible to use our health center at any given time. Last year, on the medical side, we had about 4,000 visits on the medical side. On the counseling side, there was about 2,000 visits. So it's a busy place. Last semester, we were down a provider. And for the first time that I'm ever aware of, and I've been here 15 years, we had to have a waiting list for our mental health services. And that's a scary thing. There were times where we had 25 people on the waiting list, and they would triage them. and make sure that people who really were in crisis were able to be seen sooner. But that required a lot of juggling and a lot of trying to squeeze people in. It was very stressful on the counselors, but certainly very stressful for students who need to be seen promptly. And of course, at the university, our mission is to help people successfully get through school. So I think anything that we can do, and unfortunately, usually this involves money, anything that we can do to help that. And usually it means some sort of staffing. It's a person to help a student. Really, I think we're just a mirror of the community. I think it's just best for everybody if students can be seen promptly. They can be seen by university counselors who kind of know what they're going through, and then we, I think, help take the pressure off the community too.
Lyra was nearing the end of her treatment at New Haven. She'd been there 10 months and had made great progress, had really worked hard. She had been home for part of the week. I went out to walk the dogs. I came home and she was gone. We searched for her that night, called her therapist. She'd been in touch with her therapist every day. We just really had no idea that anything was coming like this. The next morning, the troopers came to search for her, the search and rescue. We put it out on Facebook, and we were blown away by the amount of people that came to help and look for her. We had people who didn't know us, people from Moose Mountain. We had close neighbors, friends come. All came to help look for her, and we did find her shortly thereafter. But as hard as that day was, I think that outpouring from the community of people dropping everything at 7 o'clock on a Friday night meant a lot to Doug and I. And made something really unbearable, a little more bearable. And I hope that as we go forward that, mental illness is treated as what it is, an illness, and that we can develop the resources to support these kids in Fairbanks, in the state of Alaska, so they don't have to leave and come back again. That's hard on the kids, it's hard on a family.
Because we're small and because the foundation listens, we have the opportunity to improve and to make things the way that we need to meet the community needs. And that's not that way in all places.
I would like Lyra's legacy to be one of acceptance, and for people to know that Lyra was a very courageous person. She was a fighter. Whether it was to overcome her physical hardships or her mental hardships, she, fought as hard as she could to get through these things.
Our mission is to help students feel better, but along with that, we help them stay in school. And that's why they're here. So if we can help them stay in school and be more productive and successful and do well and be happy, then I think it's I think we're very fortunate to be able to provide that service.
Well, I hope it continues in the same pattern that we established last year of community leaders, engaged stakeholders getting together and developing a plan that will work for our community. We have unique challenges and needs, and so I hope that we will continue to keep the focus on the unique needs that we have and come up with achievable goals that will help provide the results for the community members that are most at need and most vulnerable.
People are loath to talk about it, I would say, as compared to if you have cancer or break a leg or something like that. But it's, and there's a perception, and I probably fit in this category at some point, that, you just got to pull your bootstraps up and buckle down and keep going. And I've changed my opinion.
You know, we've had loss, but we've also had, you know, we've also gained things from her life. And I think that was her gift.